Caitlyn Clark is probably out for at least 3-4 weeks.
Man, bruh. Congratulations to the WNBA. Your ratings are going to drop by 55 to 60% once again. I believe the WNBA have successfully broken Caitlyn Clark.
The unthinkable has happened. Again. Caitlyn Clark, the WNBA's undisputed golden goose, the one-in-a-generation talent who single-handedly reshaped women's basketball and ignited an unprecedented economic boom, is broken. Sidelined. And this isn't just bad luck. This is the direct, infuriating result of a league that has utterly failed to protect its most valuable asset, leaving her vulnerable to relentless targeting. Fans aren't just disappointed, they are absolutely furious, convinced this isn't merely a string of unfortunate events, but a calculated, systemic failure by a league seemingly intent on sabotaging its own future. The raw truth behind her absence, and the dire implications for the very future of the WNBA, will absolutely shake you to your core.
Yup. Caitlyn Clark, dealing with that groin issue. And now, this just occurred to me. Caitlyn Clark, clearly not looking like herself. The Indiana Fever has the game put away, yet we still put her back in the game at 45 seconds left. Caitlyn Clark, dealing with an injury, not looking like herself. The game is already out of hand, yet we still put her back in with 45 seconds left. How much patience do I need to have before I can start going nuclear? Because I am getting very frustrated with what I am seeing.
For 8 grueling years, from her electrifying college career to her seismic entry into the professional ranks, Caitlyn Clark was an iron woman. She was a marvel of consistency, a testament to unwavering durability, never missing a single game. Not one. This kind of resilience, this near mythical streak, is almost unheard of in the relentless world of professional sports, a living testament to her relentless dedication, her rigorous training, and her sheer, indomitable will.
The fallout has begun. The Indiana Fever are literally taking what looks like the most valuable women's athlete asset that has come around in I don't know how many years. Certainly for women's basketball, they are taking this asset, an asset that I contend is worth more than every player in the WNBA combined. I'm keeping it real. All right, that's the draw, that's the aura, that's the brand. She is the WNBA. I've said, I contend she ought to be, her three-point shot should have already been changed. That should be the logo of the WNBA. Of course, the old school WNBA fans.
But now, in just over a single brutal month in the WNBA, that legendary streak has shattered into a million agonizing pieces. First, it was a debilitating quad strain, an injury that kept her out for 5 absolutely critical games. A major, undeniable wake-up call, you would think. Yet, instead of caution, instead of decisive protection, the league rushed her back onto the court, seemingly desperate to keep the money train hurtling forward at any cost.
This groin injury, and how much of an absence do you expect from her beyond today?
Yeah, late last night. I think it's very much a day-to-day thing, how she responds to treatment. I stay in my lane and let our
Who gives a shit how she responds to treatment? Keep her out for a week. Keep her out for a week or two. Let's make sure she's healthy. 110%, 150%. Fuck this treatment bullshit. Rest her. Sit her down. We want to make sure you're okay. Yeah, you might have a day or two where you feel good. We want to make sure that you have a career where you feel good.
And what happened next was as predictable as it was tragic, and utterly, soul-crushingly devastating, a severe left groin injury, forcing her out of action once more. This isn't just another frustrating setback, it's a terrifying, undeniable pattern. A grim, stark testament to a player systematically targeted, relentlessly battered, and mercilessly worn down. She stepped onto the court visibly not herself, clearly in pain, yet with a game already decided, 45 seconds left on the clock, she was still out there, a sacrificial lamb on display.
As we watch the WNBA every day because of the way they play the game, because I love the WNBA, I love the way they play the game, but we really watch it because Caitlyn Clark and everybody watching. Now listen, if I keep bumping her, knocking her down, might get her a concussion, you might hurt her for real. For 2 weeks, she was done with like a hamstring. She was down. 55% of the viewership was down. She comes back the next game, it's about 3 million viewers. Now let me tell you something. Growing up in the hood, they teach you this. Always protect the money. Y'all keep hurting her and all that. She going for a year or two. Ain't nobody gonna watch it. If nobody watches, how y'all gonna make and generate money?
It begs a chilling, deeply unsettling question. How much more can fans endure before this simmering frustration finally boils over into unbridled fury? How many more debilitating injuries must their billion-dollar investment, their once-in-a-lifetime star, endure before the WNBA finally, decisively, steps up to protect her? This isn't merely an athlete nursing wounds. This is the slow, agonizing public destruction of a phenomenon happening right before our very eyes, while those responsible simply watch.
Caitlyn Clark getting basically wrecked. This is one of the worst decisions that I have ever seen any league engage in. Caitlyn Clark is the biggest draw for a team sport in my life relative to the audience that would be fans of the sport without her. Bigger than Michael Jordan was for the NBA, bigger than any NFL star has ever been. All of those sports were very popular before those athletes got there. Caitlyn Clark is the golden goose. Every game she is dropping golden eggs, and they are trying to strangle the golden goose to death. It's one of the...
If you truly want to grasp the horrifying scale of this unfolding disaster, you need only follow the money, or in this case, the vanishing eyeballs. The numbers, stark and unyielding, do not lie, and they paint a picture of an absolute ratings catastrophe. Since Clark's initial quad injury, nationally televised WNBA games have plummeted by a staggering, almost unbelievable 55%. And for the Indiana Fever, Clark's own team, the drop is even more shocking, a brutal 53% decline.
The WNBA needs to clean up. I believe the physicality and all this hacking and fouling that goes on. She getting blindsided by Marina Mabry. I think all of this stuff is having a wear and tear and an impact. And all you guys are doing are hurting yourselves, because the numbers are going to drop and drop and drop.
They went from an average of 1.81 million viewers with her on the court to a dismal, barely watchable 847,000 without her. This isn't just a dip, it's a terrifying freefall, an undeniable, screaming testament to what countless voices have shouted from the rooftops. Clark isn't merely important to this league, she is this league. She is the undeniable magnetic force, the singular draw that pulls in millions of new viewers who, frankly, had never watched women's basketball before.
Folks, this is the same person that said the left quad injury that she suffered most recently was a different left quad injury than the one from the preseason. They are treating us like fools. I'm supposed to sit here and eat up this nonsense? You guys rushed her back. And within rushing her back, she re-injured that same quad. And then you rushed her back again. And then within rushing her back, she was forced to put pressure and put stress on different areas surrounding that quad. That leads us to our most recent groin injury.
Consider this for a moment. Michael Jordan certainly elevated the NBA, but the NBA was already a formidable global juggernaut. NFL stars undoubtedly boost ratings, but football was already America's most watched, most beloved sport. Caitlyn Clark, however, is a different breed entirely. She arrived in a league that, despite its passionate, loyal core, desperately, achingly craved mainstream attention, longed for broader relevance. And she delivered it, instantly, unequivocally, with an impact that stunned everyone.
The Gateway Pundit did the WNBA finally kill its golden goose after a year and a half of public beatings in a league full of the women who despise her? Caitlyn Clark may be finished. Why did Steph play CC in last minute of game? We already know the beats, the fouls, the hard fouls, the flagrant fouls. we know it's taking a toll on her. It's counting up, and yeah, I think it's catching up at this point, honestly. It ain't that serious. I'd rather just kick the can on the season if she's really that injured. Juju and Caitlyn next year sounds a lot better than Caitlyn still battling injuries. Rest Kate.
She is the golden goose, laying priceless golden eggs of viewership, of revenue, of engagement with every single game she plays. And with every injury, with every absence, those precious golden eggs are cracking, shattering, the very financial foundation of the league crumbling under the weight of its own neglect. The league that just got its miracle now watches it bleed out, day by agonizing day, while its most valuable asset wastes away.
But I will contend and I will die on this hill that she has been hurt for as long as this 3-point streak, the struggling streak. Look, guys, it's one thing to struggle and be like 5 of 23 or 6 of 23 or some shit like that. 1 of 23 tells you there is something physically off about the shot. All right, she'll miss her 6th game of the year tonight against the LA Sparks. We don't know how long she's going to be out.
The truly shocking, deeply unsettling core of this crisis, the insidious root of the problem, lies not merely with the injuries themselves, but with the blatant, almost criminal negligence of those directly entrusted to prevent them, the WNBA referees. For months, a disturbing pattern has emerged, a grotesque, unsettling ballet of uncalled fouls, of deliberate cheap shots targeting Clark, while officials seemingly stand by, hands in pockets, appearing almost to be paid to look the other way. The boiling point, the moment of absolute outrage, arrived on June 17th during that brutal, unforgiving game against the Connecticut Sun. It was a chaotic, sickening sequence that perfectly encapsulated the systemic problem. J.C. Sheldon poked Clark directly in the eye.
She had a preseason injury that was the quad. Then it was an aggravation of the quad, and now it's the groin on the same side of the body. I would not be betting her MVP. I don't think it's that important to the team. I don't want to say it's not important to her, but to sit here and bet her at 2.25 at BetMGM is not something I have any interest in. I was happy to bet her the day before she came back when it was 450, 475. But now that you're at 2.25 and we have another injury, a different injury, no, you will not get my money on MVP. No way. Now, title's a different story. You could still bet them 5-1 to win the title. If they just make sure that she's cool and are precautionary with this, of course they could win the title. But I'm pumping the brakes on anything in season, whole season, big picture, because
Clark, understandably frustrated, pushed back. And then, in a moment of pure, unadulterated malice, Marina Mabrey blindsided her with a vicious, cheap shot that sent Clark crashing violently to the floor. The referee's response to this outrage? A mere technical foul for Mabrey. Let that sink in. The exact same penalty you receive for simply arguing with an official given to a player who just brutally assaulted the league's most valuable, most vulnerable asset. It's an indefensible decision, one of the most egregious mismanagements of game control in recent memory. And while the WNBA, finally reeling from a tidal wave of public outrage, eventually upgraded Mabrey's foul to a flagrant 2, it was only after the damage was done.
It good. One thing I admire about Caitlyn, she's a warrior. She's tough. You hear me? Bruh, you just don't see players, you don't see female basketball players like her. I'm sorry. I done seen a lot of female basketball players, like I said.
Only after the entire world watched their star get brutalized, knocked to the ground. That's not accountability, that's desperate damage control. A transparent, clumsy attempt to cover up a monumental, unforgivable failure. When a respected veteran voice like Christine Brennan declares unequivocally that the WNBA continues to fail to meet the moment when it comes to protecting Clark, it is not hyperbole. It's the damning, unvarnished truth. The stark double standard exemplified by Sophie Cunningham being ejected for a hard foul later in that very same game, while Mabrey, who committed an undeniably egregious act, was allowed to stay, screams of a league that has utterly lost its moral compass, prioritizing something, anything, other than the fundamental safety and well-being of its most beloved, most crucial player.
Caitlyn Clark's injuries are something that I used to pray for because I understood the relevance of her in the WNBA, and much like a rising tide lifts all boats, if there is no tide, the boats don't get lifted. And Caitlyn Clark is somebody that has talked about the pressure of playing all these games because she knows just how many people go to these games to see her play, like all the kids, all the grandmas, all the families, and I 100% get that. And it's great to hear that she is paying attention to her body.
The deeper you delve into this disturbing narrative, the more alarming and unsettling the picture becomes. While players and coaches on the ground, those who witness the daily grind and the escalating physical toll on Clark desperately plead for fair play, the league's highest leadership seems to be floating in an entirely different, disconnected reality. Coach Stephanie White, fiercely fighting for her team, has been brutally, courageously honest, publicly highlighting a staggering -31 free throw discrepancy in recent games, and emphasizing the unbelievable disrespect her team faces. She's made it crystal clear. Her players aren't merely chucking threes from afar, they're relentlessly attacking the rim, meaning Clark is getting hammered, body slammed with every drive to the basket, while referees inexplicably swallow their whistles, seemingly in a state of suspended animation. White's message is stark, delivered with uncharacteristic frustration. When officials fail to control the game, when they actively permit systematic targeting, injuries are not just a possibility, they are the inevitable, painful consequence. So where in this spiraling crisis has WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert been? Notably absent, seemingly unwilling or unable to directly address the systematic targeting of the league's biggest star. When finally pressed on the agonizing question of Clark being targeted, Engelbert's response was not just dismissive, it was alarming, bordering on insulting. She actually suggested fans were simply looking for the outcome they want. And worse, she openly celebrated the overly physical play as creating rivalry that makes people watch. This is not leadership. This is a dangerous, delusional misunderstanding of what a superstar needs to thrive, what a league needs to survive. And let's not forget Engelbert's astounding, frankly unbelievable claim that Clark's most recent quad injury was a different left quad injury than the one she suffered in the preseason. Are they truly treating us like fools? Rushing her back onto the court, almost certainly causing her to re-injure that same quad, then forcing her to compensate, to put unnatural stress on other parts of her body, leading directly inexorably to the new groin injury. It's a cruel, cynical charade, an absolute insult to the intelligence of every single fan who watches, who invests their time and their passion. This isn't just a failure to protect, it's a catastrophic failure to acknowledge, a fundamental failure to lead, and a terrifying glimpse into a league seemingly willing to sacrifice its brightest star on the altar of manufactured rivalry and self-deception. The stakes in this unfolding drama could not possibly be higher. Caitlyn Clark isn't merely a player. She is a staggering, transformative economic force, a once-in-a-generation phenomenon solely responsible for an astonishing 26.5% of the WNBA's entire economic activity in 2024. Projections, conservative ones, suggested she could generate a mind-boggling, almost unfathomable $1 billion in revenue for the league this season alone. Her games consistently pulled in over 2 million viewers, shattering records, with the season opener against Chicago reaching an unprecedented 2.7 million, numbers that hadn't been witnessed in 25 long years. This was the momentum, the electrifying surge, the unprecedented dizzying growth the WNBA had only dared to dream of for decades. A colossal 501% surge in website visits, hotel bookings directly correlating with fever games, a state-of-the-art $75 million practice facility under construction. Every single one of these monumental achievements, a direct, undeniable result of the profound Clark effect. Now, with Clark sidelined again, bleeding out on the sidelines, all of that economic activity, all of that explosive, breathtaking growth is hanging by a thread, teetering precariously on the edge of a devastating, irreversible collapse. The market, the cold, harsh, unyielding reality of supply and demand, is screaming what the WNBA, in its baffling stubbornness, refuses to acknowledge. Clark is the incomparable draw, the magnetic force, and without her, interest simply evaporates. Her MVP odds have plummeted faster than a falling rock. Ticket prices for highly anticipated matchups have fallen off a cliff. The much-hyped Clark-Reese rematch, for instance, saw a brutal 42% drop from $137 to a mere $80 after her injury announcements. The chilling question, echoing across the digital landscape, asks if the WNBA has finally, truly killed its golden goose. This isn't just about one player's health, it's about the very financial solvency of an entire league. Its hard-won relevance, all threatened by its own inexplicable, self-inflicted inaction. The fuse has been lit, and the resulting fan backlash is unlike anything the WNBA has ever witnessed, a roaring firestorm of indignation. Social media is not just ablaze, it's a molten crucible of organized, furious demands for immediate, decisive action. Calls for referee accountability, demands for firings, for suspensions, for complete radical overhauls of the entire officiating standards are echoing, reverberating with unprecedented volume across every single platform. Fans are not simply venting their frustrations, they are threatening full-scale boycotts, vowing, with chilling resolve, to stop watching WNBA games entirely until the officiating problems are definitively fixed, until Clark is finally, unequivocally, protected. The irony, the bitter, almost unbearable, palpable irony, is a tragedy unfolding in real time. This is a league that spent decades desperately clawing for attention, for revenue, for mainstream relevance, often in obscurity. And when they finally got all three, delivered on a silver platter by one unparalleled talent, their baffling response was to allow that talent to be systematically targeted, relentlessly battered, and cruelly injured. Twice. It's organizational malpractice of the absolute highest order, an act of unforgivable negligence, and the devastating consequences are playing out right now, not just in plummeting ratings, but in a groundswell of furious, heartbroken fans who feel profoundly betrayed, utterly ignored, and disrespected beyond measure. The league itself created this overwhelming, perilous dependency on Clark, yet simultaneously stood by, hands in pockets, allowing her to be mauled, seemingly blind to the catastrophic, self-destructive consequences. When a staggering 21 out of 24 WNBA broadcasts that drew over 1 million viewers featured Clark, when games with her averaged a monumental 1.19 million viewers compared to a paltry, almost invisible 394,000 without her, you would logically think the league would move heaven and earth, would spare no expense or effort to keep her healthy, whole, and on the court. Instead, with inexplicable, almost deliberate actions, they built a glaring target on her back. And now, the very audience she brought, the passionate, diverse, engaged lifeblood of their newfound success, is on the very verge of abandoning them entirely, potentially forever. The WNBA now stands precariously at a critical, terrifying precipice. They had lightning in a bottle, a generational talent who brought unprecedented attention, an explosion of revenue, and unimpeachable credibility to their league, placing it squarely on the national stage. And now they are watching it slip away, agonizingly, irrevocably, because they seemingly cannot, or simply will not, figure out how to protect her from dirty players and from their own demonstrably incompetent officiating. The upcoming schedule, once vibrant with highly anticipated rematches and thrilling Commissioner's Cup games, matchups that were single-handedly driving unprecedented interest, all of it is now diminished, tainted, cast in a bleak shadow by the absence of a star sidelined. Fans who bought tickets, who invested in merchandise, who were finally becoming truly, emotionally invested in the league, are now questioning, profoundly, whether it's even worth their precious time and hard-earned money. Clark's sheer resilience, her indomitable warrior spirit, playing through excruciating pain, constantly using heating pads between quarters, leading the league in assists while battling through hidden injuries. It is a testament to superhuman commitment to a league that, bewilderingly, clearly doesn't appreciate the invaluable, irreplaceable treasure it possesses. She is a fighter, a true warrior in every sense, but even the most formidable warriors have their limits, their breaking point. The question now is stark, unavoidable, and overwhelmingly urgent. Will the WNBA finally, decisively, learn from this entirely avoidable disaster and implement real, systemic, non-negotiable changes to protect its stars? Or will they stubbornly continue down this self-destructive, bewilderingly inept path, allowing their biggest draw to be targeted, brutalized, and injured until there's literally nothing left to salvage, nothing left to watch? The fans have spoken with a unified, furious voice. The ratings in their brutal plummet have spoken. The market, with its crashing values, has spoken. It is past time for the WNBA to listen, before it's too late, before the Golden Goose is not just broken, but gone forever, leaving behind an empty, silent, barren mine. The very fate of the league, its hard-won relevance, its entire precarious future now rests on the desperate, terrifying answers to these fundamental questions.